then feel free to chime in. But yeah, as much as possible, we're gonna, little fly, what am I saying? As much as possible, we're gonna keep the energy really concentrated, do some reviewing, which will be really nice, reviewing the alignment principles, and then we're gonna add in some more of the lower body therapeutics, which I call AYRx, AYRx, pronounced AYRx. For some reason, everyone has trouble with all the Y's I put in words. So the AerialYogaPlay program, lower body, is going to be our focus for today, and then we're also going to apply the alignment principles to a handful of the acrobatics, or more advanced plus poses, which is going to be really fun. So I kind of did a whole remapping to do a little bit more therapeutics, and then also know that those same principles are in all the acrobatics. Okay, so it's more important in my eyes to get the alignment dialed, and then flips or tricks or anything else comes easy. If we're just throwing our body around to get the pose, or get through something, we wind up actually either injuring ourselves or it just looks kind of messy, right? We'll just say it's not as graceful as it could be. So we just did a really fun practice, Shoshana and I, of going over the alignment principles this morning, so I got to test them out on her, which was really fun. And that went well. So we're going to review. If you guys could all go ahead, and this swing is really brand new, so I'm going to just lower it now. If you can pick up the sheet that is alignment principles and just follow along with me. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. This is a review. You can share forward. Thank you. So all the papers I just gave you are going to be in your visual area here on the side, and then everything else against the walls, okay? Because I want you guys to be able to, so Shoshana, just the alignment principles, and come on back.
Oh, I have an extra copy. I was going to share it with someone else because I brought it.
You brought it, yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so the alignment principles are really quite straightforward. We've gone over them previously, but since we're revisiting the AYRx, it's really important to understand where we're coming from. Do you have that living? Did you test it? The leg loops are going to be a little high for you. So this is a nice little adjustment you can do. Yeah, I brought them down one. So can you pick up the alignment principles and we'll all hold them in our hands? I like to stand, but if you prefer to sit, that's okay. I do like kind of visual cues this way. So the main thing that I like to work with when using the swing is the spine. We all have one, so that's really convenient. The spine is the place where people accumulate the most injuries, I've found. And we have two major hubs of the body. We have the upper body and the lower body. So the AerialYogaPlay program is broken up into upper body and lower body. But I have like a part B of the lower body, which is legs and hips. Right, so we already did lower body, like core and lower back, all that stuff. Now we're just going to focus on hips down, knees, feet. They're just really popular areas that a lot of people have issues and injuries: quads, hamstrings, calves, all of that stuff. So they're different, what I call dynamic tension and spiral dynamics that I focus on in the body that are slightly different than a normal exercise program. So this is where we incorporate more of the physics of the body into the swing. Dynamic tension is this idea of letting the lower body drop and ground while we lift the upper body up. And if you can just feel that while we're talking about it, where the pelvis is sinking down a little bit more, but the spine is rising up. So we're pulling the spine up out of the pelvis to create space and length through the vertebrae, all the way out through the crown of the head, like we have a kite pulling up to the crown of the head. Can everybody put their hands on the crown of the head so I can see if you know where that is? It's amazing. Most people do not know where the crown of their head is. Okay? It's not here. It's not here. It's directly up from your ears if you were wondering how to measure. Okay? There you go. Yes. That's the crown of the head. So that part goes right up. Can you tell if somebody's like lifting their forehead, how that, or if they're lifting the back of the head, that would change this, we'll call it the guitar string. So if you imagine this pillar, we're running along our vertical axes, and there's this pillar all the way up, we'll plug it to the heavens, plug it to the sun, and then all the way down, so grounding down into the earth through the tailbone. Can everybody feel their tailbone right now? And create more of a grounding, like there's a a magnet, a gigantic magnet pulling down through the tailbone, at the same time pulling up through the crown of the head. It's really important to take the time to feel the body this way and notice what happens to your spine when you get those two principles, those two ends of your body interacting with the earth and with the heavens or the sun, if it's easier to plug into the sun. Okay? Then from there, I like to focus on the sternum. Okay, so we have this lift through the chest. So just notice, drop the chest, lift the chest, drop the chest. Don't move anything else, lift the chest. Most people pull their shoulders up, right? So just this tiny little lift, that's going to make a huge difference for the upper thoracic spine. And it's not out, it's straight up. Okay, so just notice that the rib cage can also just have a little bit more levitate and lift. And so does everybody know where your sternum is? Can you put your hands on your sternum for me? Okay, so that is when I say the swing goes right behind the heart, it goes right behind the sternum. This is where I call the heart. So it's more the heart chakra. It's not up here. So this is our sternum, right? So our sternum lifts. So everyone do that again. Lift your sternum straight up. Awesome. At the same time, to get this dynamic tension, let your pubic bone ground down a little bit more. Just notice if your pubic bone is pushed forward, ground your pubic bone down. Good. And when we ground our pubic bone down, we actually push our tailbone and our pubic bone towards one another, and we get this like sucking up through the spine, because they're kind of like the bundas. So keeping the sternum lifted, ground the pubic bone down a little bit more. Everybody knows where the pubic bone is, right? Because that's usually tilted forward, the pelvis is kind of dropped, the sternum is dropped. Does this posture look familiar? I'm only exaggerating slightly, right? A few guys that we know at least, they're like this. And I'm like, okay. And you notice the head comes forward when that happens. So we're rearranging the posture, and then we're going to apply these alignment principles to the poses in the swing to create healing in the body. So we're going to focus a lot on the lower body, and I like to focus on the loops. I'm kind of jumping around just slightly because we want to get this loop in the lower body. So just notice what happens when you turn your heels out without moving your feet. Just turn your heels out so your toes can point forward. Most people are like this, right? And then the inner arch drops. So without moving your feet, you just turn your heels out. Still pubic bone is pointing down, toes pointing forward. And just notice what happens if you internally spiral the legs there. It naturally just internally spirals the legs. This is external, internal. Use your hands with me if you have a piece of paper in it. External, push your pubic bone forward. Internal, pull your pubic bone back. So we don't want to go so far back that we're ducking out, because then we're creating another imbalance in the body. But remember, the tailbone and the pubic bone are pushing towards one another. We have that internal spiral. We're pulling up through our core, lifting our sternum, and just notice how that feels. Now the swing actually lets us do this much easier than without it. Can you feel how there's almost like a tension in the body? Right? So dynamic tension is different than tension stress. So dynamic tension is we get things moving in two opposite directions, but there's a lift in the body. So engaged but relaxed. Okay? So find the crown of the head and pull it up towards the sky, even if you're looking at the paper. Right? Just notice that the head dive is a habit in our society, and we're changing these habits in our bodies. Head. So now we're actually jumping back to number 3. So the plumb line, the head, finding that pillar. I like to think of it as pushing the back of your head. So the back of your head, again, is just straight across from your ears, the top of the ears. Push the back of the head into an invisible wall. Okay? Not so much that you throw yourself off center, but enough that allows your body, your head to come directly over your spine. Even more, Lizzie, even more. Push the back of the head. That's it. Yeah, there you go. Another measurement is your chin is level with the earth. Most people have their chin tucked in real tight, and that's how they were taught. It's called like a military neck, where you take all the curvature out of the spine. Your chin level with the earth, head pressing back is actually aligned. Doesn't that feel different? Yeah, so we want to remember this is why we use the chillaxin arms, where we're letting our head release back into our hands, so the front and back of the neck are long. We don't kink the back of the neck in any of our other poses, and we don't drop the head and let it be heavy and hang off the front of the body. So we're really creating a stabilization and allowing there to be more alignment, more balance, and then it's relaxed. It's relaxed when it's bobbing right on top of the surface then, right? Okay, great. So let's go to lead with the heart, head directly over the body, gaze up. So the gaze. So if we're gonna lead with the heart, I always say like the heart gaze, right? Because a lot of times the head is coming forward, the heart is pointing down. So think of like eyes being at your heart, you have your heart gaze. So when I say look up with your heart, it's like this, it's not this. Everyone just kinks the back of the neck. That's not it, right? So we're gonna look up with our heart. So look up with your heart. Without moving the rest of your body, think of looking up towards the sky with your heart. Keeping the head in line with the body. Look up with the heart, just notice how different that is. Okay? Great. So look up with the heart, look up with the eyes. And so we want to find our drishti. Look straight ahead. Everybody look straight ahead. So find your spot. Okay? So get the swing straight ahead. Eye level. That's usually where I tell people to look, but because we're so used to looking down and it really affects not only our vision, it affects our third eye, it affects our pineal, you actually want to look up to the back top corner of the room. So it's not just straight ahead, but it's actually up to the back top corner. And that will activate your pineal in a totally different way. And it's just something we don't do. We don't look up. So just try it in the poses without moving your neck. You can move your eyes without moving your neck. It is actually really good for the eyes to change your vision. Okay? Now we'll go over these in different poses one at a time. Don't get overwhelmed if it's like, okay, 12. So we're only done 4. Then we want to work with our lats. We talked about this internal spiral in the lower body, and we have an external spiral. Let's use our hands again. We have an external spiral with the upper body. Okay? Now, I like to use my hands and my thumbs and my elbows to find this. So keep the internal spiral in the lower. In the upper body, you have an external spiral where you're actually bringing your elbows in and your thumbs out. So elbows in even more. So if you looked down, your shoulder, your elbow, and your wrist would be in a straight line. Most of the time, elbows are back for people. And just notice what happens in your shoulders, right? We're kind of placing the lats on the back, our wings. We're putting our wings on our backs. Now, the bottom tips of the shoulder blades, squeeze those towards one another. Just the bottom tips. Top tips look like this. We don't want to do that. We want to spread the tops of the shoulders wide, like apart. Okay, and then the bottom tips of the shoulder blades come together, and then your hands rest at your sides, just like that. That's an external spiral. Now your hands are open without moving anything else. You can rotate your hands down. Good. So you don't have to drop your arms to rotate your hands down, right? Feels really different. This is a lot of Anusari principles and alignment principles that come from AYRx too. So we want to incorporate all of this in the swing. So you will notice a lot of times people are like this in the poses. And the elbow hangs in archer where their hands are by their ribs. And you've heard me say a lot recently, flex. This flexing motion is externally rotating the shoulders. And then we hang from here, so our hands are up by our ears. This is flexing, okay? So when I say flex in a pose, this is what I mean. And this is going to be the habit, so we're closing the shoulder joint. We want to open the shoulder joint, okay? And that's what creates shoulder injuries, especially rotator cuff. Is that we're putting strain on the shoulder in this closed position, and it actually isn't sitting properly in the joint. Okay? When we internally rotate the legs, we're having the femur bones sit in the socket in a different way, and that takes pressure off the SI joint. Okay? It spreads the sacrum. So these are real common issues. People are actually closed in the shoulders, closed in the heart, and they're splayed out and externally rotated in the hips. They're the exact opposite of alignment in terms of energy flow. So we have to undo that in the body. Right? Very good, guys. This is all making sense. Yes? You're doing it with me? Okay, so we talked about we're jumping to legs, we internal spiral, spread the sacrum, ground the sit bones. So can you feel your sit bones? Can you guys feel your tailbone without your hands, but if you want to? So feel your tailbone, feel your sit bones pulling apart from one another. Just like I pull the shoulders apart from one another, imagine your sit bones moving apart from one another. Okay, so the sit bones tend, the tight-ass expression. Like literally, most people are clenching and pulling their sit bones towards the center line. It's a stress position, and it actually pitches off the Kundalini energy. When our sit bones start to spread, it helps us. Can you guys feel the difference? Clench, squeeze. Notice the pubic bone drops forward, and then spread the sit bones. It's the same as pushing out through the heels. When I gave that cue to push out through your heels, that's the same as spreading your sit bones. Part of the body we don't really pay attention to much, right? Doesn't that feel different? Does anybody like the way it feels? Does it feel better for anybody? For some people, it might feel like tension because they're not used to that space there. So there's going to be muscle resistance because it's been trained the other way. But it's a really common issue, and it actually creates all kinds of digestive issues and elimination issues and all of that. It's all connected to how much flow can happen through the spine. Good. Now we're ready for core engagement, and we spent a lot of time on the core in the last AYRx training, so I'm going to incorporate some, but the core engagement is really key. So we are moving from our pelvis, basically from now on. Most people are moving from their head and neck. So we're dropping our center of gravity, we're lowering our center of gravity and bringing more awareness to our pelvis. So even when you're in poses, I'm going to have you consider and think about what the legs are doing, what the pelvis is doing. We're just lowering not only our center of gravity, but our attention to our pelvis. So core engagement, when I say core, I actually mean the entire torso. It's not just these little muscle groups, right? Because core is actually it's a spiral. So we're internally spiraling here, so we're actually pulling the ribs in and then up towards the sternum. So the navel comes in and up, and that's how we hold our spine. Most people, again, if they're splayed out in the lower body, they're splayed out in the belly, right? So it's in and up, but it's not like tension. You know, it's not the contraction that you usually see people that are like, ugh. You know, it's a breathing motion, so we breathe with it. But the navel comes in and up and tries to tuck underneath the rib cage, and that's how we get that lift and that length. So we engage our core in every single pose. Everyone's like, do you use your core there? I'm like, well, your core is always doing that in and up lift. It's, you know, inhaling and exhaling and expanding and squeezing, but we always have that core engagement in all the poses, particularly when we move into advanced poses. We want to move from our core, we want to move from our center, we want to move from our hips, our pelvis. So this is now our pivot point. Can everybody lift their legs for me and put your hands on the space where your leg inserts into the pelvis? This is our pivot point, okay? Most people, can everybody come into a forward fold and bend? Most people are bending at the waist. They're bending all the way up where their navel is, okay? That is problematic, especially for the lumbar spine. If you start to move and bend from your hip crease, your lower back stays long. Yeah, I can tell you if you go too far, you're gonna round the back and you're gonna strain the lumbar, right? So you don't wanna go so far. If you are gonna come all the way down, bend your knees, internally rotate the legs, so like your belly's laying on your thighs, and then keep your heart open so you don't ever close or round the heart. We're gonna stay arched in these poses, just in these poses to learn this for today. Yes, arch the back of the heart. So yeah, so bend your knees even more, Sam, to get the arch. Yeah, so not the head, keep the head in line with the body. So the back of the neck is long, and then arch to the heart. Let the heart gaze up. Let your heart gaze up towards me. There you go. So we're usually trying to kink the neck to get that openness. So we're just gonna keep rearranging this in the different poses that we choose. And so that goes, the core engagement goes right into the arch from the upper thoracic spine. So one hand on the sternum, one hand right behind the heart. That's what I mean by upper thoracic spine. So this is where your kidneys are, the back of the ribs. That's not where we bend from. We come all the way up and bend from right behind the sternum. Okay, that's where we initiate our back bends from. Okay, and at the same time, we're pulling up through our core and rounding down and do all the things. So you're rounded here. Yeah, so it's right here, right behind the heart. That's where we arch from. There you go, beautiful. And then keeping the knees bent to keep the flat back. And then head stays in line with the body. Because even if we come upside down or come into a forward fold, we keep that pillar, that straight line in the spine. Right? And we're spiraling the energy up the spine that way. Stacking the bones. Okay, this might be one of the most important things that I see as the discrepancy in poses. So stacking the bones looks like this. Everyone follow along. We're gonna get our hands straight out in front of us, and we're gonna notice that our wrist and our elbow and our shoulder are in a straight line, okay? Both height-wise and widthwise, okay? When I say stack the bones, this is what I mean. And then I'm pulling the energy towards the center line, right? So if somebody came over and tried to like push your arms apart, you're pulling in. And if you don't pull in, like in a handstand or that kind of thing, you are gonna bend your elbows, all right? And then lose the alignment. So we really wanna keep the energy towards the center line at the same time. The same thing here, this is stacking the bones. So when I say T your arms, and everybody goes back like this into a V, we're off the axes and we don't have the maximum amount of strength. We're here now, Amy. Thank you. T the arms. Okay, so look towards your fingertips. You'll notice that your shoulder, your elbow, and your wrist are in a straight line. I know this seems like so tedious and redundant, but it is amazing, like how every single pose yesterday, people were not stacking the bones, and these are people that already took the training, right? So it's like, okay, let's stack the bones again, and it gets really floppy. People go back too far, or they're here. This is not the strongest point. This is the strongest point. This is the strongest point. Same thing, arms straight up towards the sky. Everyone follow along. Shoulder distance, stacking wrist, elbow, and shoulder. So they're not too close and they're not too far. They're just straight. Like Goldilocks, straight up, straight up. Yeah. So if your arms are like this, they're not stacked. This is not the strongest point. This is the strongest point. Up to your ears, up to your ears. There you go. Same with the legs. We don't have to do the same thing, but same with the legs. So you'll hear me quite often in poses say, pull your feet down so they're level with the hips. Sound familiar? Some of the poses. So that's why I'm saying to stack the legs the same way we stack the arms in all the poses. Okay. That is going to be something we're really going to focus on today. It's going to help a lot with injury, preventing injury, building proper muscle strength, using and engaging all the muscles, and protecting the joints by stimulating the intrinsic muscles around the joints. Support the head with the interlaced hands, elbows wide, lift up and out on a diagonal. Most people, since we're retraining the body, are using their head and neck to initiate the poses. I see it all the time, even when I remind you guys, and it's okay. But if at any point you feel neck strain, which will happen if you overuse your head and neck, it's not the strongest joint in the body, I want you to make the adjustment in the poses to choose chillaxin arms, interlacing the fingers. It's not like this, it's not like a gentle little touch on the sides by the ears. It is a clasp. That way when you try and pull apart really strongly, elbows apart, pull, 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 you cannot release your clasp, okay? That is how strongly you're pulling wide. So your elbows are out to a T, right? T. See if you can T the elbows. There you go. And then at the same time, you're lifting up and out on a diagonal. So you're pulling the occipital ridge up and out. So the hands are at that space where the neck inserts into the skull, and you're pulling up and out. Yeah, up and out. That's how we can create the head pressing back into the invisible wall, the kite pulling up, the gaze up. All of that can happen with chillaxin arms. So the shortcut that I do in classes is use chillaxin arms, especially if I see somebody leading with their head. I'm like, go ahead and use chillaxin onto that. But I'm saying, pull up through the crown of the head, lift your gaze, push the back, it's a shortcut. Excellent. We'll go over these 100 times, I promise, in different poses. And then I might even ask, okay, what alignment principle do we need to focus on here in order to do this pose? Sound good? Ready? Are we ready for some swing time? Okay, great. So now we're just going to slide our little alignment principles to the side. And we are going to apply. First, we're going to do AYRx therapeutics to warm up the body. Then we'll have a tiny little break. Then we're going to do the acrobatics and be like, okay, let's see which pose can we use for our hips and legs. And we're going to do that for about an hour and a half. Then we'll have a longer lunch break from 3:30 to 4:30, or whatever you want to call that, a snack break. And then a study break, that's what we call it. So we're going to study on our breaks. And then from 4:30 and 6, I want to review, because since we're not doing a workshop, we get to actually practice together and review, which is exciting. And then we're going to learn 2 of the yoga massage techniques, if you're up for it. So, does everybody want to do some yoga massage today? Yes. Yeah. Okay, great. That's awesome. Because the yoga massage is really fun, and it's going to be for the lower body, for the most part. We cannot not do the upper body in any of these poses. So I want you guys to look at the next outline, and you guys can just share, because I just had one left. So the AYRx outline, and this is in the manual too, so I'd be happy to loan. Does everybody have their AYRx manual, and we'll just loan that to Sam?
I do.
Will you give them the AYRx manual, and we're gonna just go to the back and open it up to page. Yeah, and we'll be writing in some of these things. Just open it up to page 198, and it's the same as the print out. Okay, 198, Sam.
Yep.
Great. So, legs and hips. Hip flexors, IT bands, quads. It doesn't say here, but we're going to pencil in hamstrings because we can't do the quads without the hamstrings. So quads and hamstrings, knees, calves, feet, and then meditation. So you do a nice long meditation today too. Okay. So as you can see, when moving into the hips, we have a long list, and I want everybody to have their outline really close by so you can visually cue it whenever you need. So after quads, we're writing in hamstrings, which is really funny. I'm like, where are hamstrings? Now they're there. It's really all the same poses. So we could get into the chillaxin sequence, floating Buddha, pretty much everything to do the hips. Sumo, lunges, forward fold, all the down dog sequences are going to work on the hips, caps meow, one-legged, standing splits, plank. All of these poses are going to work the hips. I wanted to go into Supta Baddha. So again, we're going to use some of the poses that are in the AYRx, that are in the acrobatics that we can also do in the AYRx. So we're going to work up to doing Supta Baddha. See how it goes. So everybody remember Supta Baddha? What it looks like? Let me just show you where we're going with this, and we're going to work up to it. So we're not going to just pop into it, but we want to get the leg loops at the ankles coming through a sumo squat. Can you tuck yourself into a sumo squat? Feet at 10 and 2. Okay, good. And then we get the leg loops at the ankles. Awesome. Bunched up. Yeah. Does that feel okay? I can I can bring your leg loops up one, but it's kind of nice, right?
Oh, no, it's good.
Straight legs. So same thing. Using the chillaxin arms, press the back of your head into your hands. Lift up and out. Drop your tailbone. Tuck your pubic bone under. Internally rotate the legs. Lift through the sternum. All those alignment principles we just talked about, everybody's head is coming too far forward. Press your head back into that invisible wall. And pull up and out, so through the crown of the head. So your tailbone and the crown of the head are always communicating. Can you guys feel that a little bit more? Back of the neck long. Yep, good. Awesome, so something as simple as floating Buddha is a good warm-up lab to test out our alignment principles. And if you do focus on grounding your hips down and lifting your sternum up, you'll feel an entirely different stretch in the body. Can you guys feel that? It is so much deeper. You get so much more length out of a pose. Come on to center. We are going to work on the hips, right? So just focus on the hips. Bring attention and awareness to your hips. Bring your feet together. So swing is right behind the heart. Let it slide up a little bit more. Yeah, thank you. Lizzie. Doing okay? Yeah, so Lizzie is nursing an injury, and I've been helping her with that. So if anybody needs a break, not just Lizzie, but if we're doing something and you need a break, or you want to watch, or you want to just, revisit it later, or take your time, give yourself that creative freedom to adjust as you need. Otherwise, I think everybody's going to be able to do a version of everything. Okay? So then this is called swing Baddha. We're going to reach forward, and we're going to reach up as high as we can on our leg loops. We're going to arch and open, lean back, flying monkey. And then we're going to pull ourselves up to sit on our feet. Just do that a few times. Keep your hips pressing forward the whole time. Do a few bicep curls to come sit up on your feet. Okay? Yeah, gotta get your island ground for the leg loops, but pull yourself up. So we're using a little bit of oomph, but once we get there, I want you to just watch what happens with my hands. My hand comes in front of the leg loop but stays around the swing. See if you can get there. Okay. And we can do a warm-up lap in an easier pose, so only go as far as it feels good for today. This looks a whole lot like our skydiver. Can you guys tee the arms? Even here, can you tee the arms? Pull them forward and press the chest forward, keeping the head in line with the body. Okay, let's stop. Reach up as high as you can. Yeah, and thread your arm in front of the leg loop, keeping it around the swing. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. If you reach up a little bit higher, it's a little easier to get through. Press your hips forward. Yeah. Hips. Yes.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful? Good. We can bend the elbows, flex. Remember to flex. Beautiful. Can you keep your head in line with your body? This is going to be the part that's challenging. Let yourself come forward a little bit more, Amy. Let yourself slide in. Yeah. There you go. Lift the knees. What does that feel like when you lift the knees? Press the feet together. That's great. Flex. Nice strong arms. Okay, great. Beautiful. This is what Supta Baddha looks like. If you don't want to go any further, I'd say just come on back up, hold on to your swing and relax. Okay, always hold on. Hold on to something. We're natural monkeys, so remember to hold on. But if you want to come down, this is Supta Baddha. We're going to release the swing and come down so our head, it's the same alignment principles, head's pointing down, tailbone is pointing up towards the sky. And we can't really work the hips without working the legs, since it's really intense on the legs. So if you guys are down here, relax your arms completely. Just stay in, floating Buddha for a while. Don't make no sound. Good. Coming up is a little tricky, so we're going to come up and come back down a couple times, okay? We're going to walk our hands forward. We're going to reach back for the swing. Grab the swing in your hand. You have to lift yourself up. Now, you don't want to lean back until you get the swing behind your body, underneath your arm. So hold on, yes, and then lean back. Only once you have the swing. Very important cue. Awesome. Okay, great. So Lizzie, I do want you to try this with the leg loops spread out, and I'll kind of help you and see if you like it, okay? I think you'll be okay doing it for today. Are you willing to try it? Yes. Okay, great. And I'll just, if somebody needs a spot, we can always spot them to get into some more challenging poses. So what we're going to do is spread the leg loops out to cover the full length. Wherever you are, you can stay. I just adjusted my leg loops. Spread the leg loops out so they cover the full length of the calf. Hooking the heel. Most important part, hooking the heel. Okay? Okay. Get little bat wings going. So we always reach for our leg loops. Can you guys put your hands on the swing? And then put your hands on the leg loops? So we always grab for the leg loops. Okay, in all these poses. So a lot of people hold on to the swing and then you don't have any stability. We want to reach up as high as we can. Yep, all the way up. I like the nub if you can get to the nub. Bring the feet together. Push the hips up, lean back. Flying monkey. And then from there, we're going to bicep curl to sitting on our feet. Once we're there, immediately thread through. So you're in front of the leg loops, but still have your arms around the swings. Lean forward with your heart. Yeah. There you go. Lean forward with your heart. So what we're going to do is pull the knees up towards the sky. Reach up a little bit higher. There you go. Can you get to the nub? Feet are glued together. Glue the feet together. Cool. Okay. And then, lead with your heart, not your head. Yeah. Did you see how the head led the way? Lift your feet a little higher. There you go, hon. You okay? Okay. So flex, right? And then we slowly release the swing. Slowly release. With the leg loops spread out, it's usually a little bit nicer. Come on down. Yeah, hands to the ground. You got it. Do you need my help or you good? I was going to come help you. You got it. It should feel amazing on the lower body. Do you guys feel the tractioning?
It's awesome.
Yeah. So this is when we reverse gravity. Now we're bringing all of the weight into our head, into our shoulders, and we're allowing the hips to rise up towards the sky with the help of the swing against gravity. And that's why we're feeling this amazing amount of tractioning and opening through the lower body. The lumbar, the hips. I like to press my hands into my upper thighs and straighten my arms to add a little bit more length. Only if it feels good. Very gently look over one shoulder and then the other shoulder. You don't want to go too far, too fast here. You want to let the body unfurl from all the tension it's been holding. Okay? Does that feel great?
It feels great.
Everybody good? So let's try coming out one more time. So we're gonna walk our hands forward and I'll come help you, Lizzie, if you need. So just hold on here if it feels like any sort of strain. Okay, we're gonna reach back and grab for the swing. So you have to really find your balance. Pull yourself up. Once you pull yourself up, you're gonna get the swing behind you. You have to balance. Yeah, and then underneath both arms before you lean back. Okay? So stay there in floating Buddha for a moment, and let me kind of talk you through this. So bring your arms forward for me. Yeah, so you have to stay open. So stack your shoulders over your wrists. Bring your hands forward for me. Pull yourself forward. Like that. Now you're going to reach out with one hand and grab for the swing. Yeah, go back towards the sky. Move back towards the sky. Can you grab the other direction? Bring your hands forward onto the ground. Yes, that direction. So just one. This arm goes overhead. Right here. Pull yourself forward. Yeah, always stack. Keep your shoulder over your wrist. Okay? Great. So now you're going to lift. So this arm is going to pull overhead and lift. Yeah, that's it. Bend the elbow. Pull it overhead. That's it. Pull yourself up. You're going to hold on with both hands. That's it. I'm going to help you lift. You were there. You've got to get your arm in that position, same position, and then lift. Lift. Grab it with both hands. You got it. Lift. And then don't lean back yet. Get that behind your body. Get it behind you. So reach up as high as you can on one side and then the other side. Reaching up. Reach up. Good. So this is how I'm spotting her. I'm holding her forward so she doesn't lean back. Now get this behind you, and then get your arms through. Get your arms underneath. Yeah, just like that. Both arms before leaning back, okay? Yeah, it is challenging to come in and out of it. You okay? Yeah. So watch for one more round of how to come in and out of the swing. Do you guys remember when we were here and did the arm presses in the basic training? And then this move, see how my hand's behind me, and then I have to bring it forward and lift? Well, if you just use your back and cheat, you're not going to have the arm strength when your legs are hooked in the swing to do the same movement. So this is the movement, and then you pull yourself up. Okay? So let's just see it one more time from the ground, because if we can do it when we're with our feet on the ground, then we can practice the same ergonomics of doing it in the air. So you guys are just going to watch for this one, okay? So I'm going to come forward a little bit faster. I'm going to reach here, okay? So my palm has to be facing down. I lift and rotate. Okay, you guys want to practice that one more time? Okay, hold on, lift and rotate. Let it come around. It is a little bit of an umph, you know? So you can relax with this one. Lizzie is nursing, so we don't want to strain the lower back while doing this, right? We want to do this without strain. So see if we can get it. So the arm goes out to the side. So let's try one more time so we can get it right. Lift and rotate out to the side, and then yep, and then around, overhead. Yes, and then lean forward, grab with both hands. So now you're going to reach up for the top of the swing as high as you can to create stability, and then flip it behind you. That's it. And now get your arms through one at a time. That's it. So it's behind the back before you lean back. It's a little tricky. There you go. Yeah, so bring it wide and around. See, you're clever. So you're creating all kinds of, but it's not as smooth, right? You can get there, but it's like flopping instead of getting what we want to work on today is the alignment principle. So you can hook with your elbow and do the whole thing of pulling yourself up. But what we're trying to do is create that balance in the body where we lift and rotate overhead. Right, because this is a pose. So lift and rotate overhead. Yeah, get the X out. Good. Ooh, lean forward. Wait, we're not there yet. So follow me. But I'm glad that you're a natural monkey and you catch yourself. That's the most important thing. You're like, it's a bra. Let's put it on the bra, hands in front. This is a pose. We don't want to skip this pose, right? Because this is allowing us to lift. Good. Then once we're there, we reach up for the top of the swing. Reach up for the top of the swing. Yeah. And then get it behind you. Yeah. And then we're safe. Then we can do that. See how different that is? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And that really makes a huge difference when we get into flips and things like that, because you can miss a hook, right? So if you're flopping back into it without getting both arms through, we don't want to get into that habit. We want to get in the habit of getting in and out of the swing so that we have good alignment. All right, so that's one way of working the hips. Does anybody else have some other requests of how we want to work the hips? So even this pose, this is the bow and arrow, is a great way to work the hips, right? Pigeon pose. Is there any poses you guys would like to review? I'll, out of the list, I will take requests. Otherwise, we'll just fly through them and try different ones.
All the pigeon variations are always nice to play with.
Excellent. We have about 8 pigeon variations. Should we just go for it and do them all? All right. So all the different pigeons. Well, from this pose, let's bunch it back up at the ankles. And my leg loops are a little bit lower because this is a brand new swing. We can make it a little bit higher. I'm going to transition it back up a little higher as they grow. Okay, but the leg loops higher is a little bit harder. If you want it easier for a client, just bring the leg loops lower. So that is an option, okay? And there are some people where the hips are tight. You probably have met 1 or 2 in your life. If the hips are tight, it's going to be uncomfortable. So this is my favorite pigeon pose called floating pigeon. We're going to bend the right knee in towards the chest. Left leg extends. And we're going to hold on to the knee. First, we're just like, it's like a rocking the baby, they call it, right? We're going to pull the knee up towards the body. And at the same time, the foot comes in towards the heart. Can you have the same alignment principles where the crown of the head is pointing up to the top? Very top of the room instead of back, right? Or forward. Sometimes if we're leaning back too much, I'll have people go into a chillaxin arm. There you go. Nice. Lots of different options. And then we're going to open it up, take a pause in between, second side, bending the left knee, holding onto the foot, holding onto the knee. I'm holding onto the knee and pulling it in for this version. Push the pelvis down, so square the hips towards the ground, and lift the sternum up. Just even that adjustment will make a huge difference, right? Ooh la la. Good. Nice. So isn't that nice? You can put the leg loop on the handhold to make them lower for people. Yeah. So that's kind of like without extending the leg loops. Without extending the daisy chains. That's a nice adjustment. All right, open it up to a T. Let's go back. You can always take a break. You come into the supported back bend whenever you need. Take frequent breaks if it gets too much for the underarms. And then we're going to go ahead and transition to the right side. Okay. And then instead of pulling the knee in, we're actually going to push the knee down. So I call this the bunny pose because it has, in my personal experience, had the most incredible release for my piriformis, which is one of the most challenging parts of the body to stretch. So now we're not squaring the hips, we're actually letting the right hip rotate towards the ground a little bit more than the left. But not pushing the hips up either. Drop your hips even more. If I do this, this is my international drop your hips sign. Okay, so there's probably some tightness there. Relax the hips. Keep the upper body lifted and engaged. Yeah, you can drop your hips a little bit more too. Soften. There you go. Even that micro movement will create a huge shift and change. You guys okay with the temperature? How are you feeling? It's a little chilly for me, but you know.
I'm always warm.
I know. See how good I am to you? I have the air conditioning on today.
Thank you. I was having,
Yeah, he was nervous. You're like, oh God, it's the sauna. Yoga with Jen Healy. Okay, open it up. Take a little pause in the middle. I usually like to come through stars, superstars, shake it out. And then left side, we're just going to go back and forth a few times here because the hips hold a lot of emotion, a lot of tension. So I'm holding onto the foot, and then my left hand is pushing the knee down. So I'm actually trying to get the knee to point towards the ground. It's not going to go, it's just going to go in that direction. And I'm externally spiraling this leg. Externally spiraling it. See if you can feel that. Good. And as it starts to unfurl and open up through the oblique, through the iliac crest, then the piriformis will release. So there's this few different locks in the muscle groups there that just from repetition, you have to really sit in these poses to get the stretch. How's that feeling? Doing okay? Awesome. Yeah, if you want, we can always bring the leg loops down a little bit more and that'll make it easier. So there's lots of options. Awesome. All right, go ahead and open it up. Let's go back into chillaxing arms, do a few windshield wipers, just to reset in between. It's always good to reset. Okie dokie. Really nice, guys. Oh. Okay, so that was pigeon pose 1 and 2. Just from here, so you guys can see it, let's go back to the right side and just know from pigeon we can come into side tree. And that's what the money pose was preparing us for. Now the knee points down, goes around, keep your arms wrapped around the swing, and reach for both hands, there you go, lying out to the side. Pull yourself up into the side plane, if that makes any sense. So your body's gonna be in a straight line, kind of like a side tree. Yeah, like that, beautiful. That's it. Can your knee push down towards the ground a little bit more? Wrap your arm around, you lost your hook. Go back to the swing. Both arms, wrap, yeah, always keep your arms wrapped around the swing. And then reach for the leg loop with your left. Nope, keep your arm wrapped, yeah. We don't want to lose any hooks along the way. In these poses we're safe, but if we get into some more crazy flying poses, we don't ever want to accidentally lose a hook, right? Because then if we transition to another pose, we could lose it all together. Okay, so bottom of the foot finds the inner thigh. I hold on to the top of the leg loop as high as I can with my right hand, and my left arm can fly. So I want you to feel stacking from your fingertips to your toes, a horizontal straight line. Thank you, Amy. There you go. That's different, right? Really feel the long lines of energy in the body. The knee points down towards the ground. You can always support the head with your hand for half chillaxin if you're feeling any strain in the neck. And that's always an option. Let's do that. I call that supermodel. All right, come on back. Slide to the knees. So now from chillaxin, we can come into a seated pigeon pose. I do these every single day. It's actually how I watch movies. So just notice if your wings are on your back, okay? So cue yourself in some of the alignment principles if you're losing some of the points that we talked about. So right foot on top of the left thigh, okay? I'm gonna add a little swag. Sometimes this is enough. Push your sit bones down as you lift your sternum up. That just makes way more sense now, right? Since we talked about the alignment principles first. So just even here, sometimes I'll call it wagging the tail because I let that left foot just explore in the space. And notice when you sway from side to side, it changes the pigeon. It changes what's happening in the right hip. Do you guys feel that? It should feel really different from one side to the other. It's pretty amazing. So if we just relax and sink into the pose and do these tiny micro movements or undulations, it tends to unwind all that tension that's hanging out in our glutes. Okay, from here, I usually just go for a hug and hug the leg loops towards the center line. Okay, so we don't head dive, we heart dive, right? So head stays in line with the body, we pull our chest towards our shin, and we press our tailbone down as we lift up to the crown of the head. That's it. Beautiful, guys. See how different that is? Do you feel the tension that we were kind of avoiding by rounding in there? It's just different. Okay, and then we can go ahead and straighten that leg up. Go back to chillaxin arms. There you go. And just hang out there for a breath. Slowly unwind. Second side. We're going to get the left foot on top of the right knee. Staying in chillaxin arms, support the head, but pull up and out. So it's not just a passive move, but it is an engaged upper body where you're tractioning the back of the neck by pulling up and out. The crown of the head is aiming for the back top corner of the room. So you're not drooping into a U shape, you're on a nice long diagonal. There we go. It's nice to have the air on, but then we have to talk over it. Beautiful, wagging the tail, exploring in the space, pushing the tailbone down, spreading the sit bones, lifting the sternum. Getting your wings on your back, right? Pulling the elbows apart. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades are squeezing towards one another. Okay, come back to center and hug the leg loops towards you. Hug the leg loops in. Heart dive. So just notice if the head wants to lead the way. Lift the heart, pull in, which is a stronger stretch. Yep. And then the last one we can release, come back to your legs and arms, extend the left leg, just let it slide up, coming into an extended leg twist, and you can feel the connection between the IT band and the glutes and the hip and this whole line of energy and its effect on the body. Alrighty, let's come into some standing pigeons, okay? Still working on the hips. Obviously we're covering the whole body, right? And we can focus on the legs here too. But we're gonna come back through our sumo. Go ahead and release the leg loops. Hold on to the swing and just walk it back, walk it back, walk it back. Give the upper body a little bit of a break, let it breathe, right? So standing pigeon is one of my favorite poses. We can float in this pose as well. If your swing is higher up, it is more challenging to get the leg up there, but it does not matter. It can be higher or lower. But if you want it lower, you can have it lower. We're going to stand behind our swing at the back of the mat. Really important to find the alignment at the back of the mat. And then we're just practicing giving the swing a little bit of a push. Right? It's just a tiny little push, and then we're going to time it to get our left foot up there. Let's start with the left. Everyone wants to start with the right foot, we'll do the left. Flex the foot the whole time, so you're not trying to catch with the ball of the foot. We want to catch with the Achilles heel. Okay, so if you didn't get that the first time, try it again. Time it. Flex the foot. Flex, go back. I know. We're going to do this all day. Well, you can still flex the foot. Kick it up there. So most people, there you go. See, it is possible. We were working on that all morning. Just something as simple as flexing the foot can change the entire pose. The other thing is both legs are straight. So as much as possible, you just keep both legs straight here. Okay, great. So we're going to use our hand holds for this one. So I was wondering, can you still hold on to your hand holds with your leg loops on there? Otherwise I can take them off or maybe, yeah, should be okay. So if you want to hold on to the top of the leg loops, that is an option. I do like the hand holds for a little bit more support. Just find your favorite position. We're going to press forward and press back. So now we're moving into hip flexors as well, right? So hips and hip flexors. So everybody feel your hip flexor here. Leaning back, pause, inhale, pull forward, arched and open. Keep the alignment principles. Where's the crown of the head? Where is your tailbone? Right? Where is your sternum? Where is your core? Can everybody feel their core here? Sometimes it's our core that we release when we want to keep the entire spine engaged. And then we're going to bend the knee out to the side. I like to hop my right foot towards the center of the mat then. So then we can be right underneath our plumb line. There you go, hop forward. Good. Now, I like pushing the knee down towards the ground so that it is level. So level is horizontal, yes. And then you can really feel that stretch, right? From there, if you can, do a wrist wrap. You might not be able to do a wrist wrap, but if you can, do a wrist wrap. And then let your body hang. And just notice how different that is. And then from there, I like to hook for I Dream of Jeannie. Good. Let's straighten both legs. Get both feet up there. Just give yourself a nice steep hang for a moment. Good. And then we're going to switch sides in the air. Bring the left foot down. Bicep curl to stand. Let's turn the knee out. We'll go back and do back and forth for a minute too, but just feel the pigeon pose. Swing is gathered at the ankle, and we're pushing our knee level with the earth. Level with the earth. Standing pigeon. So we did floating pigeon, seated pigeon, standing pigeon. Okay, so we can even push forward and back here. See how that feels. That might feel really intense for some people. Just keeping the knee level with the earth if possible. And then we can float, get right underneath your plumb line. You can come into that I Dream of Jeannie and still push the knee down towards the ground. You can have a little bit of playtime where you extend one leg and bend the opposite knee. Just see how it feels. There you go. Find the space. And then let's go ahead and bring both feet in. Knees out to the side, bottoms of the feet together, and then this is another version of the flying monkey. Same thing where we can pull ourselves up. Okay. So can you get both feet in there? Straighten the legs. Just like this.
Like this.
And then feet together, knees open wide. Eyes that curl up. Doesn't this look a whole lot like our Supta Baddha again?
Yeah.
So you have to release your hand holds and just hook your elbows here. Now, because it's a little bit of trust coming down, you can transition to holding on to the leg loops, but keep leaning forward and lower yourself down so they're on the shoulders. Okay? Yeah. Remember, if you don't lean forward, then you don't have anything behind you. But if you lean forward, you have the swing holding you. Yeah. So it's another way to visit Supta Baddha. Then you can just release the leg loops all together and come through another full hang. If you want to stay with the leg loops on the shoulders, that's a nice alternative. So we're going to find that it's much easier to come out of this one because we can just reach up and grab for the leg loops whenever we need. Okay? Beautiful, guys. So a few options, right? So it's more advanced to just hang. And then we have the leg loops to hold on to if we need. So everybody's going to grab the leg loops wherever you are and see if you can do a little push-up position. Hold them in your hands. Do a little push-up. Push-up, lift. Yes. And then straight out in front of you. Okay, great. Now we're going to reach up for the top of the swing. Yep. 1, 2, and come to sit. Yeah. Good job, guys. Smooth transitions. We made it.
That one was a bit more intense on the ankle.
On the legs. Yeah, if we don't spread it out, it is a little bit more intense. Okay, great. So I have one more pigeon that I like to do on the ground. We just learned it. Are you guys up for it? Yeah, you are. Okay. So I would come through Nataraj normally, but after we do something like an inversion, we can always pause and sit in the swing, which we don't actually do very often, right? So it's kind of a treat. Okay, great. I'm going to actually transition these onto here again, just because I can. Yeah.
One of my favorite versions of pigeon is just with one leg in the leg loop and the other crossed over it.
Yeah.
Or even no leg loop, just like, both feet.
Sitting, yeah.
Sitting like this, feels good because you can drop that hip.
Yeah, we're going to get into half Buddha next, so we'll try those. Good. Let's continue on with our Warrior 3. So we're going to hold on to the bottom of the leg loops. Up. And then we're going to lean forward all the way if you can. Okay, you're going to come into a push-up position, feet in the center of the mat, and then see if you can kick your foot up there and get it into the leg loop. Let's go for the left leg if you don't mind. Yeah, lean forward, lean forward. Yeah, if you look, then you lost the alignment. Yeah, there's nothing to look at. It's actually easier if we keep our pillar and look forward than if we try to look back and we crunch. Okay, so from here, we have Warrior 3 into Nataraj. And if you prefer, you can hold on to your hand holds for Nataraj, right? And come down. So we're stretching hip flexors, still getting into the hips, getting into the quads. Beautiful. So take a few moments here. We're not rushing, but we are on the left leg. You okay? Okay. Yeah. The air will kick back on any minute, Sam. You'll be okay. You make it. Panting in the back. And then we're going to come back through Warrior 3. Let's try it. Push-up position. And then bend your standing legs slightly so it's comfortable. Bring your hands down to the ground. Okay, we're going to come through a floating plank. Hands down to the ground, front of the mat. And then we're going to bring our right knee down for pigeon. Yes, good. Our left knee bends. So just bring your hands to the ground. Lean forward. Yeah, and then kick your one leg up. So kick the left leg up. There you go, and catch the swing. There you go. Bend the knee. Good. Hands to the front of the mat. Close. There you go. There you go. Get up there. Okay, good. So we keep that foot flexed because if not, it comes off. I like to lift through the chest, right? So you get the quad stretch and the pigeon pose at the same time. And then one simple variation is just to look over one shoulder and the other shoulder, but make sure it's your crown of the head pointing towards the sky. Thank you. That's it. Crown of the head points towards the sky. Not by kinking the neck, but by opening up. Really good. Okay, let's come back through floating plank and switch sides. There's a whole series we learned there yesterday, but we're going to keep the right knee bent. Right knee bent. Yeah, that helps the back. And then we're going to lift, lift. So the more you wiggle your left foot over to the side, the deeper the pigeon. There you go. Awesome. Obviously, if this is too much for someone, you can just release the swing, but it's actually nice to get the suspension. And then you look over one shoulder and the other shoulder, and just notice how that changes things. Really good. And now we're going to come back up through floating plank. If anybody wants to try, because it's fun, you can come into a stacked handstand position. We did a bunch of handstands yesterday, and then come to stand center of the mat. Yay! Very good. So we'll end with our half Buddha, which is also a great pose to do for pigeon. Take a moment to just shake it out. So it did the same thing if you were just reset. So if you want to if you can change it from your phone and just turn it back to 79, that would be awesome. I'm still learning how to do things here. There we go.
I'll just take it off the preset schedule.
Yeah, and I just turned it back down, so it'll turn up. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for the request. That's always great to have different poses that we can practice and try together. I'm just moving these around as the swing stretches out. So we're going to come back through our sumo squat, and without even using the leg loops, we can take the right foot on top and press the knee down like we were doing in our standing pose. That is an option. So you can stay here if you're happy. If you want to continue on, we can get the right leg loop on and just take a moment to wag. So I have I'm going to move my left foot back into like a half sumo, which is 10 and 2 on the mat. And it's 2 for me, so 10 for you. So can you just hop your foot over to 10 o'clock? The left foot? Yeah. So we open up the hips. Good. And then we can bend the knee out to the side, and it's a half pigeon, kind of like a floating pigeon. Drop your hips a lot. Pull your foot to the top of the mat. See how my toes touch? Yeah, the edge of the mat. That's how you get the alignment. It's a little bit challenging with the bigger mats, but just kind of bring your foot out to 10 o'clock. So where's 10 o'clock on your clock? Yeah, there you go. Awesome. And the same thing where we can press the knee down, pull the knee up, press the knee down. So we're kind of blending the poses since we're here, because otherwise we'll have to come back and do it 100 times. Hold on with your right hand, keep the knee bent, turn it over into a quad stretch, and then heel toe to 9 and 3. So it's 3 o'clock for me, so 9 o'clock for you. It's the only way my brain will do it. So hold on with both hands to your anchors, right? If you don't, it feels really unstable. Yeah, knee points down towards the ground, and we square our hips towards the entrance. There you go. So pull the knee in towards the center line more. Yes. So your knee likes to flare out, pull it towards the center line. Nope, that's the other way. In like this, in towards one another. Yeah. So square your hips to the wall. Yeah. So there's all kinds of blocking happening here. So pull the knees towards one another. Not that way, towards the center line. This is the center line. Yeah. And then let yourself drop. That's it. Now you stack. Does that feel different? Square your shoulders to the wall. So there you go. Perfect. So yeah. So pull the knees towards the center line is like this, not up. Let yourself drop. It's just pulling it in. There you go. And that's one of the ways that you square your hips to the side wall. So yeah, that's a big stretch. From here, what I like to do is you can either come to stand and just point your toes towards the sky, come out, that's a nice exit, or you can come through floating Buddha and change sides. Let's just come on back through our sumo so we can do both sides like this. Point the toes towards the sky, yeah. Sumo, 10 and 2 on our mats. Okay, and now I'm going to walk my feet together, bend the left knee, and put the ankle on top of the quad. Okay? From here, you can push the knee down, pull the knee up, and just play in the space like that. But since we have them, we might as well incorporate a leg loop. Holding on, so remember to lift through the sternum, kind of drop there for a minute, yep. Get the leg loop on the ankle. First thing we do is extend, walk your foot back out to 10 and 2, so it's 10 o'clock for me, 2 o'clock for you. And then we just wag. So this is a great way to lubricate the hip joint. Let's work with our internal and external spirals since we're here. So notice if you turn your toes out, that's a totally different stretch, and if you turn your toes in, that's a totally different stretch. Keep the foot flexed the whole time. Turning toes out, turning toes in. There you go. So even that can be amazing on the hip. You guys feel what I'm talking about? When I pull the foot in towards the center line, I turn the toes out. When I rotate the foot out, I turn the toes in. Yeah. Notice what happens to the alignment in the hip joint when you do that. Yeah, so let it come from the femur instead of just kinking your hip up towards the sky. So the waist stays long on both sides. Okay, then when we turn the toes out, we can bend the knee and grab for the foot. That's external rotation. Nice. So take a moment there to play. Maybe push the knee down, pull the knee up, all those fun things we were just learning. Okay, and then you're going to hold on to the swing with your left hand. Now we're going to internally rotate. So notice how the internal rotation is usually the difficult part for people. Holding on with both hands to the leg loops if you can. Okay. Leg loop at the ankle. And then you're on 9 and 3. So we're keeping that axis. So we're going to work with the alignment in the axes. So we're going to pull the knees towards the center line. So you pull your knee towards 9 o'clock. There you go. That's easier. And then you spread out. So you spread out as much. So where's your elbow? So Lori, that elbow is coming too far forward. Get it behind the leg loop. There you go. And then we try and square our hips and our shoulders towards the front, towards the sidewalk here. Beautiful. Okay, great. All you have to do is bicep curl up to stand and put your toes towards the sky. And we come out of that one. Those are all of our pigeon poses. Is there any more that you can think of?
There's a pose, is it called half lotus, where you go from seated pigeon and then you do the upper back bend to grab?
I call it can opener, but yeah. But there is a half lotus, but your leg is wrapped.
Okay.
So half lotus is this.
Okay, that is.
Okay. Can opener is from seated pigeon. Leg loops at the knees. You're welcome to try it if you want. And then from seated pigeon, we'll do the right foot. We hold on to the swing and lean back. Grab for the foot.
I love that one.
It looks like a can opener to me. And the can is your hips. Okay, so if you try one side, try the other side. So make sure that you're always pressing your knee down so it's level with the earth. That's the cue in that pose. And then you can reach back and grab for the ankle. One hand or both hands. You're feeling extra limber. Okay. Good question. So yeah, it's just getting used to the names of the poses, but also noticing what that opens and how that opens the hip flexors and quads.
I've been playing with standing pigeon with my leg
Inside.
So I take my toes out and have the swing cradle, and then it allows me to swivel my torso toward my shin a little bit, and then just kind of play with leaning, pressing forward through my feet and really around.
Beautiful.
For my tight hips, it feels